All right, hour and a half on the clock. Cool. All right, we're rolling. All right, time's going. Cool. All right, first thing I'm doing when I step into this round pen is really I'm just getting a feel for how this colt is. Now, I do have a little bit of background knowledge on this horse. Hey, buddy. Hi. He's been on my property for the last couple months. He's been a bit of a rough one just to handle. I know. I do know that they had to get a rope around his neck to get him into the round pen today. So he seems to be joining up real good right off the bat. This is nice. So I'm just keeping those circles wide, watching for that hip disengagement, and then I don't want to test my luck all that much. I want to make sure that's good. I'm going to send him out, see if I can get that draw. Then I'll give him a release there. There we go. Hey, buddy. Yeah. Now, this is a horse I don't necessarily want to offend. I feel like a delicate hand isn't going to quite be enough. But really getting after him, I feel like is going to cause more issues. So it's really towing that line of giving just enough to make him figure something out. Hey, buddy. Yeah, and I really, really don't want to peak his adrenaline there. So I'm going to try my darndest to see if I can get a halter on him without having to throw a rope today. Right there. Now that's not, I didn't love that, being that I want to ride him tonight. But I can tell he's sticky. He didn't really have a forward instinct in him. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to figure out on the ground before throwing a leg here. Is just getting him moving forward. There we go. Now, I always like to come into the round pen without a flag or a whip. But being that he is going to be more of a push horse, we can see right at the start here. I'm going to see if I can get a little bit more forward out of him right away. That way I'm not fighting that in the saddle so much. There we go. And already just, there we go. There. And I'm going to try, I got a bad habit of clicking too much. I'm going to try really, really hard with this horse to be specific with it and pick my timing real well. That way, you know, it almost means more to him then. Because like I said before, he is going to be a real sticky one. So I'm clucking there. I'm telling him to move forward. And then with that whip, I'm providing a little bit of assistance to myself there, getting that forward. But I don't want to dull out that cluck. So I'm going to give him 3. That's just habit. I'm going to give him 3 here. Make sure he moves off that. There. Let's see if I still have that draw. Awesome. I'm going to step to that hip. Cool. Now we're dancing. Do a little reverse switch on him. Right there. And he wants to leave. I'm going to control that direction. Stay on his uncomfortable side. See if I can get that draw again. Step to that hip. And he doesn't want to, so I'm just going to keep driving him out. Good. See if I can get that good draw. He doesn't want to. I'm going to control the direction there. Drive him back out. So we know two things. Woo! Caught my spur. We know two things right away. Is number one, he's going to be sticky. Number two, he's very left eye dominant. So making sure on this horse specifically, now it's not every horse, but on this horse specifically, making sure we're paying attention to both sides of his body. And then going into some of the maneuvers we'll do here in a bit, I might start on the left side, his harder side. I suppose it's my left side, it'd be his right side. I've been saying it wrong. So start on his offside. There we go. I was going to give him that. I was ready to kneel down. He wanted to leave there, so we're going to drive back out. Back to what I was saying, going into some of the maneuvers and some of the saddle prep and obstacle work. I'm probably going to start on that offside, just because that is going to be his harder side. So we can work through that as a kind of a natural consequence of getting over the obstacle and also getting him comfortable with commotion on that offside. Now that's pretty common for a young horse. Now he's 3. He's a 3-year-old Nakota gelding. But it's pretty common for these young horses to be a lot more patient on their near side, because that's where we handle them. That's where we halter. That's where we do most of our groundwork. Control that direction. I'm going the way I want. There we go. Now he finally disengaged that hind end real nice for me, really picked up on that offside. So I'm going to give him space. I'm going to take my energy out of it, kneel down here, and just give him some time to think, decompress. And that's a lot for him. It doesn't seem like a lot for us, but you can see he's going through it. He's breathing deep. I don't know if the microphone's picking that up. He's stretching his neck, licking and chewing. I mean, he really is going through it there. And all it was picking up that inside hip. So after it took a while to really get him to give, I'm gonna go back to something easier, something he's confident in, and play on that near side a little bit. Give him a couple of easy wins. Let him know that the game's not always that hard. Give him some space, walk wide. Now as I approach him, the way I'm approaching him is, if you watch horses out in the pasture, the way they interact with each other, the way they communicate, horses very rarely walk straight onto one another. It's a lot of half passing, side passing, lateral movement. So if we can emulate that in our bodies, we tend to get a better result than if we approach head on, fast and with a lot of energy. It's right there. He's getting shy about that offside, but he got shy about that near side too, so we're just going to go back to work. See if I can get that draw. That's his hard side there. He met my saddle. That was nice. There. And that didn't take much work. But he picked up that inside hip on that offside. I think that's a good step. I'm going to go wide around him, not put too much pressure on him. I'm just going for that halter now. If he decides to join up, that's totally fine. I'll take it. And now, simply just taking that halter out, we are going to change the energy of that round pen. So I'm expecting him not to behave exactly as he was before I grabbed that halter. So instead of just going right for his head, going, oh, we've joined up a couple times, I am going to go back, check my bases, make sure we're still soft in that hind end. Do a little reverse switch there. Yeah, and we're picking up that inside leg. Awesome. Right there. There, and that's going to become a real big thing, just being comfortable with that shoulder. Awesome. That hind end step away from me. Awesome. I'm going to mark that shoulder. There we go. So it would have been on, on a different temperamented horse, I probably would have thrown that rope. I love getting hands on them right away, getting them caught up. But with this horse, I really don't want to raise that anxiety. I don't want to offend him, because I feel like with some of these geldings, especially his type of gelding, once they shut down, they're tapped out. And I want to keep him working with me as long as possible. And if I shut him down right away and he quits working for me, then it's a waste of a session, waste of a day, and I've put him through some unnecessary stress. Now I have the advantage of the halter now. So with that, with him being uncomfortable on that offside, I'm just going to start marking myself to it. And how I'm going to do that is a little bit of approach retreat. And I get this. This is a very traditional Argentinian gaucho training that I picked up on that I really like. I think it has a lot of good. I think the gauchos have a lot of good stuff they do. So I'm gonna get in there kind of fast, kind of aggressive, and then once I get to them, I'm really just gonna melt and let them know that, hey, it's okay to be with me. It's the safest spot to be with me, actually. Then we're gonna go back. I always like to keep their feet moving. And again, especially with this type of gelding, right there, especially with this kind of gelding, I want to make sure we're still connected, we're still engaged with what's going on. And if I'm not constantly kind of asking for his feet to move, I don't really have a good gauge of where he's at mentally. Right on. Good. Right there. Good boy. Good boy. So as I'm going, I'm just really putting my hand everywhere I can, making sure to get up on the wither where that saddle's going to be, on the girth where that back cinch going to land, right down there, all over. And that's also how I'm going to start working on his feet, right there. It's very subtle. At the beginning, it's very subtle. We're just getting him comfortable with it, right there. Right there. He's a little bit hesitant on that leg, so I'm going to go to the inside of that pull the opposite pole. And typically, when you have resistance on a hind leg, it means they don't want that opposite ear touched. So I'm just going to get in there, make sure he's comfortable with that. Really relax that. Massage it a little bit, let him know he's a good boy. I'm going to go back to that hind leg. That one was a balance issue. Now we're good. Now we're good on that hind leg. Awesome. Now I'm starting over, right? New side of the horse. Same drill. Gonna get his feet moving. There we go. And I'm gonna attack him. I'm gonna jump on. Rub my hand all over him. Make sure he's good with everything. Right there. Sorry. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna be good. We start subtle. And we'll get bigger as we go. Now this is the easier side. And I purposefully, like I said before, with almost all of these drills now, I'm going to be starting on his off side, just because that's his shy side. Good boy. So we'll spend the time doing it on that side, so when we get to the near side, his good side, we won't have to work that hard. Good boy. I like that. I really like that. Good. Still a little bit hesitant here, so I'm going to attack that side. And we still have some resistance there. Really massage it in. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Stretch that out. Good boy. Good. It's not so bad. That's not so bad. Love the mane on this horse. Who braided him? You did? My lovely fiance braided his hair up. He looks so nice. What? Getting tired of the wing knot, she said. Alright. So now we're comfortable with each other. We did our little dance. What's the time? Hour and 12 minutes. We can work with that. Alright. So I don't have a ton of time to work on this here. I'm just going to introduce him to some obstacles. And yes, that's on the scorecard, but also I think with this little mini bridge, we can work on some self-regulation, which is going to help us in the saddle starting process. It's right there. I caught myself. I want to click more at this horse. There we go. Build in some of that body control early. And he is going to be the claustrophobic type. I'm going to spend a little bit more time getting that body control here. I'm going to give him some room. There we go. There we go. Now I'm going to reward that first contact. Now, even though he didn't actually make contact with it, it was his first try, and I am going to reward that. Now, he's going to need a lot of help with this. Make sure he's squared. So if he ever gets unsquared, I'm just going to back him straight up here. And then make sure we have that body control. Awesome. Get back to the rail. We're going step back. Get yourself back underneath you. He doesn't want to be square, so we're going to go right back. And yes, we are raising that adrenaline just a little bit. But the second he hits that, I'm going to give him a huge release. And those endorphins are going to flood his brain, and he is going to think standing on obstacles is the best thing since sliced bread. And that is going to benefit him in the long run. So I'm okay in the short term causing a little bit of anxiety in him, because for the rest of his life he's going to need to trailer load. He's going to need to deal with all sorts of things. And if we can't get this figured out, then he's going to struggle with some major things. Good. Now he made first contact there, first actual contact, and that's where I'm going to give him a huge release. And we're just going to hang out here. It took a little bit. I caused a lot of anxiety in him. But again, we're talking in the short term. As soon as he stepped on that, I released all the pressure. Quit tapping him with the whip. Quit guiding his head with the lead rope. Really just backed off. I took myself low. Took my presence, my energy out of the situation. And I'm just letting him sit in those endorphins, sitting in that rush for a second. So now when we go back to it here in a second, we are hopefully going to get a much quicker response, because now he feels kind of good after he hit that button. And just because of the time constraints on these type of deals here, I was helping him out maybe a little more than I would if I had a little bit more time. But I do like them to really search out and find their own answer, because doing this kind of stuff really early on, I love obstacle work. I love taking my colts out on trail rides. It really makes them start looking for those answers. Now that wasn't the right answer. Really starts them thinking about finding the right answer and searching for what's right. Good boy. Instead of number one, avoiding and being defiant, or shutting down and not participating. I'm really encouraging him to find the right answer, but I'm not necessarily making it all that obvious. I need his participation in this as well, and especially with a colt that I know is going to be prone to shutting down. I'm going to need him to start searching for answers. There we go. Now, it wasn't perfect, but we got there. We got there. We got a foot up on there. There was a try. I'll reward that. But it's not quite where I want to end, so we're going to get right back to it. Oh, you psyched me out there, bud. Thought we had it. I am, right now, I am going to help him out. Make his life a little bit easier. See, no. If he wants to take the hard way, the long way around, that's totally fine. Get your hip in line. Thank you. That's not it. All right. No, that's good. That's what we wanted. All right, now I'm going to be a little bit quicker. He's learning. He's getting it. He's learning the game. But now I need him to get some weight on there. That's the closest we got with that 1 foot. And it is. It's time consuming. It's tedious. It may not look like we're getting a lot done. But this is probably one of the first big puzzles in his life. And if we can start his training off with some problem solving, well then, it's my opinion, we're setting him up for success. So, to a broke horse is a very easy problem. But to a 3-year-old, and we have weight on it. There we go. Like I was saying, to a 3-year-old who has very little time handling in general, this is a very complex, this is rocket science to this horse. So the fact that he's making so many mistakes, it's not offensive to me. I'm not going to get frustrated with him. But I am going to let him know that the only answers that are accepted are correct answers. Good boy. He wants to go off. That pressure is going to come right back on. And now this is where the game turns from just problem solving to also a little bit of emotional regulation. We're really now, there we go. The only time I'm not going to be applying pressure is when he's making the right decision. Good, and he can hang out there. He can stay there. That's cool. Now his foot's off of it. We're going to back up. Go right back to the game. There we go. We got 2 feet on it. That's going to be his win. Good job, buddy. Good boy. That's a fun little game I like to play with them. Gets their mind thinking, gets them looking for the right option instead of just reacting to what I'm doing. So I like to play that game with them. It's real fun. Now, what I'm doing here, do not get this confused with flanking. This is not flanking. This is simply just teaching that horse how to, number one, accept girth pressure, but also be accepting of forward movement with that girth pressure. Now, I am not opposed to a horse bucking. I think horses buck for a lot of reasons. And first and foremost, I think horses buck because of discomfort. Now, what I don't want is to have an unprepared horse that has a saddle on and a rider on, and they're just uncomfortable and they go to buck, and we get into a wreck and we do that horse a disservice. So I'm going to do my best to get that horse comfortable with some girth pressure and then some back cinch pressure before I introduce that saddle. Just make sure we're good with it. We're on the same page. We're accepting it. We're in a good frame of mind. So what I'm doing here is I have this ring rope on, and as I raise my hand, we're applying pressure. And with that, I'm going to ask him simply to back up. What backing up does is the shoulder blades are going to move. The shoulder blades are going to move, and they're going to push air out of the lungs, and he's going to take a deep breath, and he's naturally going to relax a bit. What I like about that is we can get a lot done in a short amount of time just using their own biomechanics to our benefit. So the progression of this is once he's good and accepting of that pressure at the backup, I'm going to keep that pressure on and then disengage the hindquarter. Awesome. And every time he comes off of the halter pressure here, I am going to give a little bit of a break in that girth just to reward the behavior. Because once I get on him, I want him soft in that loping hack. And that starts with your groundwork in the halter there. He's real soft in that backup. Step to the hindquarters and release. There we go. I'm going to come up again. Pull that girth tight. Nope. Soften the backup. Hindquarters. Release. Now he's getting pretty soft there. So the next thing I'm going to do is after that hindquarter moves, I'm going to send him forward just a hair. And just check and make sure we can move forward off of that pressure. No. Stay soft in your backup. Stay soft in the backup. Hindquarter. We're going to send forward a little bit. Now that didn't work so great, and he's going to be sticky, and I know that. So I'm going to implement a little bit of help for myself in the form of a whip. So we're going to come up. Make sure we have that back pressure. Oh, stay soft. Stay soft. Stay soft. Good. Hindquarters. And send forward. Good boy. Good. Introduce that pressure back. Good. Release. We're going to introduce that pressure back and release. All right, so we're pretty good with that. I'm comfy with that. He seems to be doing pretty okay. So I'm going to do the same thing right about where that back cinch is going to go. Now again, not flanking. I'm not putting that on his flank. That is just where that back cinch is going to go. I don't want him to buck. I want him to learn how to move freely with that added pressure. And he's actually taken to this a lot better than I would expect for the type of gelding he is. This is not exactly what I was expecting out of him, but I can't say I'm disappointed. that pressure. Well, he took to that pressure phenomenally. So I don't want to over drill. Do not want to over drill. So we're going to ditch that rope. And we're just going to keep on keeping on, buddy. Yeah. All right. He's going to introduce himself to my tack. I don't want to run up to him with it. I don't want to throw it in his face. I don't want to force him to wear it. He's going to make first contact. You don't have to be. I love the fact that he's gotten reel in my pocket here. He's going to make contact with that. Get to know it a bit. Because if he's cool with it there on his own, then it's going to be less of a struggle getting on his back and getting him comfortable wearing it. But he's got to make that decision. I can't force him to make that decision. I'm going to try to be quiet because he's really listening to what I'm saying. So I'm going to shut up here for a second and just give him some time to get comfortable. All right. Made contact with it. Show him the underside there. Yeah, they smell like horses. There we go. Once he's cool with that here, I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm not going to make a show about it. I'm going to treat him like a broke horse. And we're just going to wear it. We're going to be grown. And like I said before, I'm always going to check in with his feet. Make sure he's not shutting down on me. Make sure he's still attentive and focused. We're going to wear it like a big boy. Good boy. All right, now same situation with the saddle. The saddle doesn't have to be a big deal if you don't make it a big deal. It's just part of life, but he is going to make that first contact. So I'll let him do that. That was pretty quick. I'll give it to you, bud. You're a quick learner. It moves. There's another side to it. He's got a good nose. He does. Really into those smells. All right. Just like the saddle pad, we're just going to throw it up on there. Now, the caveat to this is once that saddle's up there, I want it to stay up there. So I'm going to work real quick. I'm going to make quick, quiet work out of it. I'm not going to tiptoe around him. I'm not going to sneak my way around him. But I am going to, as efficiently as I can, snug that saddle up to him so we don't have him get it off. We don't cause a wreck. We don't make this first saddling experience any more uncomfortable than it needs to be, because already he's going through a lot. This is This is probably the hardest day he's had in his life so far. So I don't need to add a saddle slipping up underneath him, getting caught on stuff, really souring him to the whole deal. So as I pull that cinch, every time I loop it through, I'm pulling it tighter and tighter and tighter. Right there. Before it's tight, I'm going to make sure I tee off, because again, I don't want that saddle slipping. Right there. Get that. All right, he's allowed to move his feet. I want him to move his feet. I want him to know he's not stuck. But what I can't have right now in this situation is him jumping forward on me. Jumping forward on me in this situation can be very dangerous for me, because that puts me in line with his hind feet. It can also be not the greatest, because he can still be holding on to air, and that's where we're going to get those bucks. I call it the 1, 2, 3 buck, where they take 3 short little steps, then explode on you. So right there, just like the ring rope, we're going to send him backwards. And you can see he's holding onto that air. He is holding on to it. He does not want to let go. I want to make sure he's soft in that back up and not wanting to come down on me. There, and he let out a big breath. Let out a big breath there. Whew. Whew. So with that horse, with how sticky he is and how much he wants to hold on to his air, if I would have just let him out forward, he would have bucked and bucked and bucked. But I got to get a lot done in a short amount of time here, and I don't want to run out a horse, especially not on a gelding who's this prone to shutting down. I'm just going to keep making sure he's soft in that back up. And he just wants to hold on. He just wants to suck that air in, not let it out. I'm just going to back him up. Until he lets that air out. And he really does not want to. There we go. Give him a release there. A lick and chew. That was a big breath. I feel pretty comfortable sending him out now. So I'm going to check in with those hindquarters. Make sure he's feeling all right. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to buck. I actually fully expect this horse to still go off. But I did want him to relax a little bit with that saddle on, get comfortable with it before we made that the first experience he had with a saddle on his back. Now, I'm not going to come in and force him to move super quick right off the bat. We're going right back to the beginning, checking our bases again. I'm going to make sure he's engaged. He's with me. Those feet are moving. Can we do a reverse switch now? There we go. That was even better than before. I like that. Now let's get him on the rail. Some of that shoulder control we worked on with the obstacle. And you can see how sticky he already wants to be. So with a horse like this, I don't want to keep pushing on him. I want to wait until he really makes that decision to quit moving. And then I'm going to drive. So if I keep pushing on him and pushing on him and pushing on him, we're going to dull out that flag real quick. But I got to keep him sensitive to something. So I'm primarily using my body and my energy here just to keep him moving. And when he decides he wants to die on me, that's when that flag's going to come up and push out. There we go. Now I don't know if the microphone can pick it up, but he's still holding on to that air. And I know some people say, you know, a horse should never buck under saddle, a horse should never this, that, and the other thing. I think this horse needs to buck. I really do. You know, not big and crazy and over the top, but he's holding on to that tension that just needs to get out. He needs to release something. And if I didn't encourage him or let him release what he's holding on to, I would be doing a disservice to him, and I would be making my job more unsafe by not letting him get rid of that and letting that tension build and build and build until eventually, you know, 2-3 rides down the line, we explode and it becomes something much bigger than it has to be. There we go. I just wanted that canter step out of him. All right. What's the time at? I got 43 minutes left. Okay. I'm going to put in my 5-minute break here. I'm going to give him some time to really just hang out, pack that saddle around, and we will come right back to it here in a couple minutes and hopefully swing a leg. Time? No. fine. Is it going okay so far?
Yeah, it's going well.
He's tough.
It allows you to kind of, like, you can tell he's tough, but you're handling it well. I'm glad you moved on from the mark when you did. I think that was smart. I think you could have easily drained your time not spending more time on that.
He's a tough Colt. Time.
9:39 minutes. One more minute.
Got one more minute.
Are you gonna need me as a flag person?
Yep.
Let me know when you want me down there now, or just wait.
Just wait. I'll call you then when I need you.
Okay. Wow, what's that side pass he's doing?
He like wants to be close to me, but not really.
He's wanted to be close to people since he got here. He's just really unsure, and he lacks the boundaries.
All right, ready to go back in?
Yep, 30 seconds to do all that. Don't forget your microphone.
What's up?
Don't forget your microphone.
Yeah, I'm putting it on. All right. That's about my 5-minute break there. I'm gonna swap out that halter with a loping hack here. There we go. Just like we did before. Really attack that shoulder. Get up close and then let them know everything's cool once I get up here. We're still a little unsure about that ear. Just a little bit. All right. See how he's feeling. Get some forward. There we go. Now I'm just feeling him out, just seeing when I go to ride where our struggles are going to be. And he really is fairly soft in that halter. The hardest thing is just going to be encouraging that forward. There we go. There we go. I'm letting him commit when he comes out of it. But I'm making him uncomfy when he does. It's the same thing with the obstacle we worked on, where you're allowed to find your own answer, but I am going to be annoying about the wrong one. There we go. Good. Now that's not great. Again, trotting in a circle is not a grand accomplishment for any horse. But for this horse, keep in mind, this is the hardest day he's had in his life ever. So giving me that working trot is actually a pretty big accomplishment for him. There we go. There we go. Good. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, it's like I said before, it's not a huge accomplishment for a horse to trot in a circle. But just looking at his reaction to that release, that was tough for him. He's going through it there. So I'm gonna let him have his moment, and we're gonna get right back into it. And I would rather, for this horse, not every horse, but for this horse, with how I think he's gonna be under saddle, being that real sticky type, I would much rather figure out his forward on the ground as a priority than spend a lot of time dulling him out under saddle trying to get it. So I'm okay with spending as much time as we need making sure we have that forward before I go to swing a leg. Because I don't think he's going to be a hard one to leg up. But I do think this part is going to be his biggest obstacle. There we go. There we go. I'm going to give him that. He started, what I saw right there is he was licking and chewing through the trot. Now, that's the first time he wasn't holding air. It's the first time he wasn't resisting. I am going to keep his feet moving because I want him to keep doing it. But it's the first time that brain turned on while his feet were moving, and he was, I call it relaxing into the work. Now, that is a huge, huge step, especially for this kind of gelding that wants to be so stuck. I wasn't expecting him at all to give me that reaction, in the first 3 sessions. But he gave it to me right there, and now I'm going to hunt it. He set a new standard for himself, and I am really, really happy about it. There we go. Good boy. That's all we need from you. Yeah, a little bit of effort. Good boy. Good boy. He's growing on me. I'm starting to like this horse. All right. Let's see if we can relax into it. Now horse training is just a game. It's a series of games, actually. And the games are kind of ever-changing. Oh, and the fun part is I get to make the rules. So the rule started, move forward. Now wave the flag, move forward. And when you move forward, I'll give you a release. Now as we play in this exercise, the rules of the game change and evolve. And now I'm waiting for 2 things. I'm either waiting for him to lope, or I'm waiting for that brain to turn on. If he starts licking and chewing, or if he starts dipping his nose in and looking at me, really starts using that brain to think about what we're doing, I'll give him a little bit of a break. If he decides he wants to use his body and break into that lope, I will also give him a break. But until then, we're just hanging out in this kind of limbo state. That's totally okay. It's totally okay. Exercise never hurt a horse. Exercise never hurt a person either. Getting my steps in for the day. So we're good there. He was close. He was right on that border. I thought he was going to do it. I gave him a break a little too early. But in a situation like that, I would rather be safe than sorry. Rather give him a release for being close than be too late on a release. There we go. He's got me out of breath too. We're both sitting here out of breath sweating. It's all right. All right, so he didn't free up great, but he freed up enough for me to feel confident throwing a leg up. So now we're ready to ride. What's that sound? What do we do next? Now we ride. I think is that how it goes? What do we do now, Sheriff? Now we ride. All right, so right there I just have my over under ready. I just want that to be able to clear my leg and reach the flank. I'm just gonna check in on him. Now this horse didn't in the groundwork never really felt an issue with his softness at all. I'm just gonna check in with him. Oh, a little braced up there. Now I'm not steering this ride, so it's not gonna be a huge issue, especially not to that offside, which I guess it shouldn't surprise me. It's his shy side. But I do just want to make sure I have a little bit of, I want to make sure I can at least get his nose off center if, of course, I needed to. Then come back. Awesome. Oh, caught my toe. There you go. All right. It's right there. Doesn't seem to mind that. He licked and chewed right through that. I'm going to go ahead right away. Tap that toe. And then I'm going to start building in that heel cue. Right there. Move that hip. There you go, buddy. Awesome. I'll put my foot back up. There we go. And I'm just always keeping his feet moving. I don't want him to tense up and lock up. I want this to be fluid. I want it to flow. I don't want this to be a hurry up, get on, and then get bucked right off. This is just like the groundwork, it's a dance. Right there. I need you a little bit more off center. And then just what I was doing with my thumb there, I'm going to do with the toe on my boot. Get that hip. Beautiful. Now he's a super quick learner. This is nice. And again, keep it fluid. It's a dance. Awesome. Move that hip. Fantastic. My gut said it was time to ride. That's what I do. I'll have people ask me, how do you know when to throw a leg? This is what I say. When it feels right. Throw a leg when it feels right. If it don't feel right, don't throw a leg. So I'm going to have Pen Wrangler step in here. Now I'm just the monkey on his back now. I'm a glorified test dummy. But I'm going to have Amber step into the center here with the flag to encourage some forward out of this colt. What do we got for time? That's plenty of time there. All right. Okay, so because he's so sticky, I'm going to make sure that we're being really, really precise with this cues. And the instructions I'm going to give you, we do this all the time, so I know you know how to do this, but for the sake of recording and the educational value, I'm going to make the cluck sound with my mouth, give a squeeze with my legs, and after I've done both of those things and they haven't worked to encourage forward, Amber is going to encourage forward from a tertiary cue. Now, the way I like to do things is first cue is the mouth, that's primary cue. Second cue is the leg squeeze. And tertiary cue is the one we want to wean off as quick as possible, and that's going to be the flag. So we're going to get going here. I don't have control of steering. Obviously, this colt doesn't know how to steer yet, doesn't know how to stop yet. I am, again, a glorified monkey on his back, glorified test dummy. Amber's the one in control here. But I am going to be the one giving the cues, so we'll start right here. And if the tertiary cue doesn't work, I'll go to, I don't know what the word for fourth cue is, but I'll go to the over under if we really need it. I'm hoping I did my groundwork and we won't have to. But I'm gonna go. Good. We're gonna start slow. There we go. There, and I'm just gonna guide him a little bit to that outside. Right there. Now he is just as sticky as I thought he was gonna be. So I am gonna have my over under ready. That over under, it's a rhythmic tool. So when I go to use it, it's gonna be a 1, 2. I'm gonna give plenty of warning with it, but it is gonna be that rhythmic tool I have. Flag. There we go. Now I know as I go around that round pen, he wants to suck to that one corner. So the corner where he's most likely to die on me is when I'm going to start giving that cue to maybe pick up the tempo or continue moving his feet some. There we go. There we go. Now he feels pretty freed up at the walk here. He doesn't feel loose, but he feels freed up. He's moving his hips okay. He's moving his shoulders okay. I can check in with him on the rein, and I do have his attention. So now I'm going to ask him for a little bit more once we get to this corner here and see if we can't get a trot out of him. There we go. And I'll let him die. Same thing as the groundwork. I'll let him die there. We'll bring that trot right back up. There we go. There we go. Just give him some encouragement through those corners. There we go, buddy. All right. So now we're going to tip that anxiety scale a little bit in our own favor. We freed up in that trot, took a little bit. Now, I'm going to start being that monkey on his back and hopefully take some of that anxiety he has within him and use that to get some forward. So right there, yeah. Grab that back cinch, pull it a little bit. Just kind of be all over. Awesome. Now we're going to pick that trot up. I'm going to have Amber bring some more energy up into it and create that chaos. Good. Now, it wasn't a great canter, but he did give me half a step, half a try at least. So we're going to let him sit in that. Now I'm going to go to change direction. He doesn't know steering yet, but I can use Amber to help me out. So I'm going to pick up on that left rein. There we go. Keep him light. Keep him nice. Soft to the touch. Awesome. Now, like I said in the beginning, I want to work on that bad side first. You're always going to struggle more on that shy eye. So now we have the shy eye to the inside. A little bit more comfortable for him. So we should get more forward out of him as we go. You want to give me a little bit right there. That's pretty good. Increase that energy. There we go. We'll start. There. Big release. Now that was tough for him. That was big for him. Now that saddle coming off, me stepping off of him, that's going to be just about the biggest release he will get in his life up to this point. And I just want him to sit in it. I want him to enjoy it. I want that to be the greatest present ever for him finally freeing up there in the canner. And I'm going to take my energy completely out. I'll ask Amber to step out now. Me and this Colt are just going to hang out here for a second. What's the time at? Perfect. All right. Time? 8 minutes. I think we'll call it there. I think that was a very, very productive first session on this guy. All right, sorry for the break-in video there. We had a camera issue, but we got it figured out. So, right back to it. All right, I'm gonna put this obstacle in here, and like we talked about yesterday, I want him to be a problem solver. I really do want all my colts to kind of have a mind for them, for their own. Hey, I like that. He's already checking it out. I like them to have a mind for themselves and be able to think through problems without necessarily relying on my help. So I do really, really like to start that process early. And we started yesterday with this little mark here, with this little mini bridge. And I got him to put 2 feet on it yesterday. We'll see if any of that stuck. There we go. And I'll give him that release. And again, nothing super impressive. It's kind of, when you look at the grand scheme of horsemanship, it's a really small accomplishment to be able to step up onto a mark here. Hi, yeah. But we do have to reward those small wins, especially when I see the improvement of what he was giving me yesterday. There we go. I'll straighten that out for him, make it a little bit easier, make that right answer a little bit more clearer to him. Oh, he was so close there. He was so close there. Buddy. I'm going to release some of my pressure, but not all of it. I'm going to keep my presence here. Because if I were to step back and kneel down, I guarantee you he'd take that foot off. I took my hand off of that halter, but I'm keeping that flag raised. I'm keeping my body here. And I might give him a little bit more to that hip, make him a little bit more uncomfortable. There, he didn't make the right answer, so I'm going to put him right back. And he's really thinking through it and processing. And I talk a lot, and I try to teach a lot about the over personification of horses. Now, I don't think he's being rude. I don't think he's being defiant. I don't think he's doing any of those, human emotions or human traits we would like to apply to this kind of situation. I really do think he's just going through it, and he's figuring out some of his anxieties. If he was running his shoulder into me, if he was doing all that stuff, a lot of folks would call that rude. A lot of folks would call that pushy or aggressive behavior. I don't necessarily contribute that to horses. I think they act based off of the pressure applied. And I'm trying to apply the correct amount of pressure in this situation to get him to do what I want. I could absolutely over push him, and I could absolutely under push him. And it's finding that balance, that sweet spot for that communication, and those expectations are going to be relayed in There we go. There we go. Yep, step up. So again, I'm backing off that pressure just a hair. Just a hair. I had to give him a little bit more back pressure because he wants to overshoot that. There, and I'm not taking my body out of it. I'm still staying upright. Still have that amount of pressure on him. There we go. There we go. Yeah. There we go. And that's where I gotta be careful with my microphone here. And that's the first time in just about 2 hours of working that horse that I'm gonna take my hat off for him and really just appreciate what he's given me. And I'm just gonna let him relax there and be comfortable there. That is a huge step. Might not seem like it, again, in the grand scheme of horsemanship, but being willing to pick up both of his feet and step onto a platform there, well, now that's the basis for any obstacle we go to do, any bridge, any ground poles, anything like that. But it's also the basis of trailer loading and the basis of how we're going to work through some of the claustrophobic environments. Because it was not only were we working on the obstacle, on actually stepping up, but I also had him pushed up against the rail there, and he was pinched. And that claustrophobia is one of nature's curses on these horses, is they are naturally very, very claustrophobic animals, and they resist being in tight spaces as much as possible. So he is demonstrating a lot of trust, a lot of a lot of try today that I wasn't necessarily getting from him yesterday. And I'm gonna have to go intervene with that real quick. Good. Now I'm not gonna be mad at him, but I am gonna put him right back up. Now he knows the right answer now. He's been rewarded for the right answer. So I do want, as much as he's given me, I do want proof of concept. Good boy. Good boy. And then before he has the chance to say no, I'm going to send him right straight forward off of that. Right back around. There. Now he wanted to cut that shoulder in, which is fine. I understand him resisting. Yeah, buddy. Yeah. I understand him resisting that tight space. Absolutely do. There we go. And keep going forward. And keep going forward. Yeah. I understand him resisting that tight space, but for the sake of making a colt that's movable and adjustable, I want to make sure that I can move those body parts. So I'm taking the opportunity to apply pressure and move them as needed. But I also am setting him up for this mark in a way that's going to be easy for him. Or if I line him up, kitty corner adjacent, all cattywampus like that, he's not going to have an easy time stepping over it. And it only took 2 corrections on him there, and that one time he went straight to it. Awesome. Now, there we go. There we go. And that's all the time I'm going to spend on that today. That was phenomenal. So that drill, as much as I like doing it on colts, I also do it on broke horses that have some trailer loading issues. I think just that drill, you're working on their claustrophobia. You're working on a lot of those things. The claustrophobia and the stepping up and the forward movement and all that. So it's just a drill that I'll take and use on any anxious horse, really. And I've never worked with a young horse that didn't have some level of anxiety. Hey. So I'm not making a big deal about this saddle at all. Now, this is only the second time he's ever had a saddle on. So, just like yesterday, I'm going to make pretty quick work of getting that thing secured up in there and making sure that it's not going to hit the ground. I think and I truly believe one of the biggest disservices we can do to a young horse is not be prepared to ride, not be prepared to tack up, not be prepared to enter that round pen. Because when we're not prepared, we're going to put that horse in a situation they really don't deserve to be in, whether that's a tack failure, getting in a wreck, or getting thrown off because you weren't anticipating what that colt was going to give you. I think just being ill prepared and ill equipped to do the job you want to get done can lead to a lot of confusion and a lot of undesirable behavior, is what I'm going to call them today. Can lead to a lot of what we perceive as undesirable behaviors. But really, like I said before, horses react out of the pressure applied. And if we're not applying pressure in all that of an appropriate manner, well, it's no wonder horses are going to act the way they do sometimes. All right, what's my time at? An hour. Well, hey, that's not too bad. That's really not too bad at all. All right. Give him some space. All right. So a couple things before we get his feet moving. He is holding air. We know that. He held air. Really, it was tough to let for him to get his air out yesterday. So today, I'm assuming he's gonna hold air to about the same degree. That being said, he's also more willing to show me when he's uncomfortable. So I'm almost expecting a little bit more bronc out of him, a little bit more emotional expression out of him today, because he gave me nothing yesterday. He really didn't. And if he goes to buck, I'm not viewing that as a failure on my end as much as I'm viewing it as a win. Getting his trust, getting his companionship and partnership, because he is willing to show me that he's uncomfortable. Unlike yesterday, where he was very, he didn't want to do anything for me yesterday. So if he does go to buck, as much as people want to convince you that a horse bucking is always a bad thing, in this situation, if he broncs on me today, I'm going to take that as a personal win, because I'm creating a level of trust where he feels comfortable showing me his uncomfortability. There we go. There we go. We're not freed up quite yet. We're sticking in that left hip. We're going to be sticky. I'm going to drive him forward. So we're just starting to free up in the hind end, but at about that same time, we're stiffening up in the forehand. And it went out. So that was kind of neat. And you don't see that a lot. But I could literally see that stiffness travel up through his body, and then he blew it out. It was like a big tension release through his whole body there. But he's finally starting to breathe for me, giving me a few deep breaths there. I'm gonna go ahead and switch it up on him, see if I can inspire some forward there. There we go. Get him thinking. Get him engaged with me. Now, this is a horse that is very, very comfortable with kind of disassociating, kind of just, shutting his brain down and just going to work. And he'll move his feet all day for me, but moving his feet isn't necessarily productive if we don't have his brain. So anytime I think he might start to be checking out on what we're doing, I'm just going to get his attention just like that. Right there. Now, he has potential to be a lot more athletic than I gave him credit for yesterday. I'll tell you that much. There we go. All right. So that's all nice and good. We got about 50 minutes. I'm moving quicker than I think I am. All right, I'm gonna go get my saddle horse here. All right. So as I'm bridling up my saddle horse here, I really need this horse to be more forward on me. I need him to be willing to move, to be willing to open up and use his body and feel everything that's going on. And me on the ground, I am not giving enough I'm not bringing enough energy to that round pen for him to be doing what I want without wearing him out, without dulling him out. So there's a lot of different kinds of pressure you can apply, but one of the most powerful forms of pressure you can apply is what's called natural draw. And there's a bunch of different ways to get natural draw from a horse. But one of the most efficient I've found is using their herd mentality to get that forward. So I want to bring the saddle horse in, and I'm gonna mount up. I'm just gonna go for a ride, and it's gonna be very leisurely and very nice. We're not gonna do anything crazy, but we are going to bring a level of energy and a level of natural draw that hopefully we can inspire this colt to follow us and open up and express a little more athleticism. There we go. This horse is feeling hot today. They just did a kid's lesson on my pony horse, and she is She's warmed up well. I'm gonna have to give Molly a discount on her next lesson. There we go. So those same moves I was pulling on the ground there before, when it was just me in here, of moving the hip and keeping him engaged, controlling direction, all of that still applies here with the saddle horse now. It's just a little bit more energy and a little bit more natural draw. So he's really being sticky in that. There we go. Send him out. There we go. That's always the last resort, getting them opened up. I don't love doing it. If I do got to snub one up and in lack of better words, force them to be a little forward. That's sometimes sometimes what you have to do. I want to see here. All right. As I go around, I'm not seeing much success from doing this. I'm really not, and that's unfortunate because that was my plan B. But as a Colt starter, you always need a plan C and D, and E and F and G, and you got to be prepared for anything and everything all the time. So I'm gonna let her be a pilot horse now. And see if we can't get some of her energy to transfer into this Colt here. There we go. That's what I'm looking for, guys. She's being so lazy. All right. Of course, I don't want to move till I grab the halter. What's that? If you want to make God laugh, make some plans of your own. There we go. All right. So I think the best case scenario right now is I do my best to mount up this Colt here in a reasonable fashion, and then see if we can't just get a good lope out of him. That's really all I want here. All right. That's not going to be quite long enough. Alright, now the way I mount up might be a little quicker than yesterday, but it's going to be the same process. So, first thing I'm going to do is check that hip, make sure we're mobile. Put that leg in. Good. Make sure we're mobile there. Check that offside. Good as gold. Fantastic. And then my first step out is going to be that hip moving. There we go. And I'm going to take that hip movement, create a little bit of a funnel. Yeah. Go chase that blonde, Billy. There we go. Go get her. Go get her. There we go. I'm going to see how slick I can be about this. I'm really hoping I can pull this off. There we go. There we go. Woohoo! There we go. And that pressure's gonna die. Woo! And I was searching for that for the last 15 minutes. Good boy. All right. Let's see. Which one's my open gate? It's that one there. All right. Hey, kid. We're going to go have fun. We are. Now, I think part of the reason that we're being so stuck, those darn round pens are never big enough to get a good stride in. And Ellie there, my golden girl, is being a good pilot horse, showing him the way, showing him it's safe. Like I was yesterday when I had Amber in here with me. I said I was just a monkey on his back, and I do, for the most part, still believe that to be true. There we go. There we go. even though I'm adding in a little bit of steering here and there. There. Good. Can we try again? Can we try again? There we go. Keep it up. Good. Good. Awesome. I feel good about that. So we got them freed up here. Now I'm going to take this as an opportunity to really work on some steering. So all I'm going to do here, put a little bit of pressure, just a hair of pressure on that rein. Then use that flag. Get them off of that a little bit. And then always remember that forward motion is the key to almost everything in the first 30 days of training. So if we don't have forward, we don't have a horse if we don't have forward. There we go. And that flag's helping me out a lot. There we go. And forward out of it. Good. I'm going to go to the right. Get some shoulder work. And forward out of it. Good. Now to the left. Here. Get some forward out of it. Nice. Now I'm going to use that squeeze. See if I can get good forward out of it. Hey. That's pretty good, bud. Oh, we got a pilot horseback. So I'm going to break that bond, turn to the right, use that flag, and forward out of it. Awesome. Love a pilot horse right away to get that forward. It is crucially important to break that bond. Otherwise, you're going to have a real buddy sour colt. Right on. Move that shoulder, get forward out of it. Nice, nice. That's really good there. What I like to see there. What I like to see is the fastest step he gives me is the step that comes right out of that turn. Good, so I'm going to break that bond again to the right and then get that forward. He wants to play Rainer on me. He told me no, so I told him we have to. Right there. Right there. Good boy. Good boy. Go find that blonde. Go get her. So we're on track. Then I'm going to pull him off. See if he's listening to that, right? And he's doing a really good job. I really don't have complaints about where he's at right now. Especially for being, I don't know, just over 2 hours of training on this horse. I think he's doing exceptionally well. There we go. Get a little bit. Get a little bit. All right, I'm gonna hunt that lope one more time. There we go. I'm gonna funnel him right back into that round pen. Shoulder. There we go. Funnel him right back into here. Ooh. And that is all the saddle time he really needs today. That for day 2 of training, I'm gonna take that as a win. What's my time at? 33 minutes. I definitely don't think we're gonna use all that, but we still good on the camera. It's not gonna be dumb on us again. Okay. Man, he's just a tough colt, but he's definitely one that I think if we push too hard, he will shut down. I'm really happy we got a decent amount of canter out of him today. Riding with the flag and a pilot horse and everything we did to get it is not ideal. We did have to try 3, 4, 5 different approaches to make that happen for us, but I'm not upset at where we ended today. So I think I'm gonna give him that release here. We're gonna hang out for just a second, and we're gonna finish up with some Jeffrey stuff, some bareback stuff, and I think that's gonna be good for his second session. I really do. Do I get questions from you guys that I can answer while I'm down? Nothing? No? All right. I don't really know. I don't really have that much to talk about. No, I kind of talked. I tried to talk that whole time. I know there was a little bit of time with the pony horse where I was really trying to think. And yes, ma'am. What's up? Trying to get him to follow the pony horse. I was seeing. Okay, so I don't want to dull him out to overstimulation with the flag or the whip or the over under. So I was trying to be creative in getting. Are you talking about when I was on the pony horse or when I was on him? Okay, when I was on the pony horse and I had the halter. Yep. Um, that's just ponying. I was trying to get forward. If he would have been a little softer in that halter, at the trot, and he was even resisting then. If he would have been softer and more willing to follow Ellie in that situation, I would have probably loped off. What I was running into is he's a bigger built horse, and this is a small round pen. And then on top of that, you put him on the inside of another horse, and that round pen becomes, even smaller than that. And I think he was just having a real hard time. Every time we would get close to the lope while we were in the round pen, he was he was really like shutting down, losing balance, and then wanting to go to back to some of that groundwork we were doing with the hip movement and the shoulder movement. And I think we were just hitting kind of an impasse of, it's not working in here, it's not working in this context, which is fine. Like I'm a little disappointed for the sake of the video that things didn't work out super smooth. However, that's training. That is how horse training goes, where not every time you try something, it's not going to work out. Even if you think you're reading the horse correctly, they are going to let you know when you're wrong and you make, you know, a call that contradicts where they're actually at. So I made a couple judgment errors in where I thought he was bringing that pony horse in to the round pen. I thought was really going to help him. It turns out that having Ellie as a pilot horse out in the big arena did help quite a bit, which is where I finally settled on. But that was a long-winded way of saying I was trying to get him to lope with me while holding onto the halter. But he wasn't quite soft enough. He wasn't quite supple enough. He hasn't been handled in that context really with the halter, for him to be able to do that without, setting back, putting my pony horse in a difficult situation, and then also risking him having a negative association with halter pressure. That answer your question? Okay.
I was like, was her pony horse doing everything that you wanted her to do in those moments, and it was more him not following, or?
No, so this pony horse, I love her to death. I absolutely love her to death. But she has days she will work exactly how I want her to work, and she'll be right there with me. And there will be days she just wants to be hot and run around. And one of those days was today, and that and that was kind of frustrating. But again, it's horse training, it's life. Things don't horses react to the pressures we apply to them, and she wasn't really working all that great for me today, which is fine. She's allowed to have those days. She's an old mare, and she's been doing this job for a long time.
It seems like based off of what you did that it's important to not just have one strategy, but be able to have multiple strategies in case one thing isn't working the way you want.
Yeah, no, and that's really what this session is. That's not what I was trying to get across this session. Not at all. But what this session turned into is I had three plans ready to go, and all three of them kind of fell apart. What I settled on, I think I think was the best option, was the best outcome. Um, and there's also there's a fine line between pushing something until you get it and knowing when and knowing the level your horse is at, and if you push to a certain level and you're not getting it, it might be time to reconsider. Um so so there were times definitely that I thought, hey, if I push a little harder, um get a little more aggressive with things, I definitely could have made things work. But in the fragile state he's in, with it only being his second working session, I didn't want to apply that kind of pressure to him. And I would rather find something that makes sense to his mind and makes sense to his line of thinking, more than just getting bigger and louder for the sake of getting forward. And like, again, a little bit frustrating how this played out. That being said, I'm very, very proud of the progression he's made, and he's a tough colt. He really is a tough colt. Not in the traditional sense of being a bronc, um, being being outwardly aggressive and over the top. He's just a tough colt in that his attention span is very short, and his willingness to work isn't necessarily all there. Um, but even the change in him from yesterday to today is huge. It's massive. So I'm very proud of the horse that came out today, and I'm very happy with where we're ending. And I'm hoping tomorrow is going to be even better, and we'll just keep building and building on that for the next 100 or so days until I have a fancy horse. Did that answer your question? I keep forgetting the questions and just keep talking.
Yeah, I do have one more question.
Yeah.
And it was something interesting that you were using her as a pony horse for him to follow, but there was a certain point in which you specifically broke from that to make sure that he didn't become dependent on the pony horse.
Yes. Yep.
When do you decide to do that, and how do you decide? Okay, I don't want to create too much of a connection here, so I need to switch.
Okay. Yeah. So the basis of Colt starting, the foundation core principle, and I have no problem saying this, the foundation of every single horse ever to be successfully ridden, the foundation is forward. If you don't have forward movement, you cannot progress. Right? You can't teach a horse to steer without forward. You can't teach a horse to walk, trot, lope without forward. You can't teach a horse to stop and back without forward. Um, so that being said, using her as a pilot horse to get around, I talked about before the claustrophobic environment, the pinches, the squeezes, and we are in a smaller arena here today. That does provide some of that. So using her as a pilot horse to show him the way, um, and give him a bit of confidence, as well as when I would wave the flag at the pony horse or the pilot horse, in this situation, and she would break into a canter, he is more likely to, just because of that herd mentality and that herd boundness that is innately in horses. Um, that being said, I was using her for forward. And at about the same time I felt confident in where we were at forward, just the team, me and him, um, I wanted to teach him in that moment that he can break away from that and he can be forward on his own. Um, and that's um, and that's like yesterday when I was talking about I want him to be, emotionally regulated and self-sufficient in his confidence, in feeling good about himself, being able to self-soothe, all those things. I want him to be his own unit. I never want a horse to have to rely on a person for them to feel good. The same way I don't want this horse to have to rely on another horse to feel good, and that's what issues like being buddy sour, or being, barn sour, those kind of things, come back to is they're not comfortable with just themselves. They need to be in their stall, or they need to be with their friend, or they need to be with the horse they've never met, but just happens to be the only other horse around. And I think it's really important to break that and show them that he is still able to be forward, is still able to work with just the pair of us. Um, and that builds a level of confidence in him. It's like, you see those videos of like a kid learning how to ride a bike, right? And they're going on training wheels and training wheels and training wheels, and pretty soon you take the training wheels off and they don't even realize, right? It's kind of like that, where we go, okay, you're moving forward, you're moving forward, you're moving forward, and then we pull them off the pony horse and we go, you can still move forward, you're still good. And that gives him, a sense of confidence, and a sense of assurance, and like, hey, no, actually, you can be cool by yourself, and we can, tomorrow when I come out, I'm not coming out with the saddle horse, I'm just coming out with him, and we are just gonna, get forward on our own. I might have to use a flag, I might have to use an over under, but we will get that. But I have shown him already that he is able to do that without. We made a step from yesterday, going from a ground person, a flagger, to now we just went to another horse, and now tomorrow's going to be nothing. And we're just going to keep making those steps, keep building that confidence in him. That answer your question?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating that you're starting in Colt, but you're establishing long-term behavior patterns. Like the same thing when you were using the step up, input into being able to teach them to be on a trailer in confined spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Between that and then the buddy sour thing, those are two long-term problems that sometimes horses have when you're starting the foundation and Colt starting.
Yeah. And I find, and I deal with a lot of 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, for colt starting, but I also deal with a lot of problem horses. And interestingly enough, I want to say 85% of the problem horses I have come in don't have aggression issues, don't have, they're not mean horses. I do have the occasional horse that comes in that I go, okay, you're actually mean. You actually want to hurt people. I don't know what went wrong, but you're actually a dangerous horse. It's rare. Those horses do exist. Um, most of them, I would even raise it, say 95% of the horses that come in that are problem horses, it comes down to a confidence thing. They're lacking confidence in some part of their life, whether it's lacking confidence being away from their friends, lacking confidence standing tied, um, lacking confidence in certain environments, whether that be on the trail or in an indoor arena or an outdoor arena or when the wind blows, and they just don't have the tools to be able to deal with those adrenaline spikes. They're not equipped to handle those kinds of pressures without breaking into what we call undesirable behaviors, and what they would call survival instinct. Um, so I find it really important that, now I always say when I start a Colt, I'm not working day to day. I'm working 10 years in the future, right? In 10 years, when this horse is turning 13, what kind of horse do I want him to be? And I'm gonna start building that horse. You know, I started building that horse yesterday when he came into the round pen for the first time, and I'm working on that same thing again. And for the next 100 or so days, I'm gonna keep working on those same things I want to see in that horse 10 years down the road, and start myelinating and start building that brain chemistry to make the desirable behaviors, the desirable reactions, um, very, you call it second nature, but I want to call it first nature, right? I want it to be the first thing he thinks of. The first reaction is the one that we've instilled in him. And that comes back to, being confident in himself. We talk a lot about, I see a lot of discourse about, horses, trusting their owners and horses having a relationship with their owners. That's all great, and you do need a level of that. But I think what's even more important is horses trust themselves, and horses are confident being themselves. Um, and what I was talking about, he threatened to kick me earlier in this session, and I took that as a point of pride, right? And and that's not really how you should look at a horse trying to kick you. But yesterday I picked up all four of his feet, and he gave me nothing, and he was, a blank wall. He was giving me no indication that he was uncomfortable. Um, but with some of the work we did yesterday, we made him a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more willing to express his emotion around me, which is a huge step, especially for a young, gelding, recently gelded. There's, you see it in young men too. You know, it's very vulnerable to show that you're scared or show that you're threatened. So he was putting up a wall. He was playing a character for me yesterday. Of, no, I'm tough. I can handle it. I'm not gonna flinch. I'm not gonna do anything. And we broke down some sort of barrier, in the session yesterday to today. He was a lot more willing to show when he was uncomfortable, a lot more willing to show, when he wasn't the biggest fan of something, which, even though it looks like negative progression, the way I look at it, the way I see it, is we're actually, starting to build that relationship. He's starting to be more secure in himself and what he's feeling. And we need that in order to, progress to a high level in his training. If I kept him stonewalling and um, kept that attitude of, oh, nothing's gonna frighten me, nothing's gonna, eventually we build and build and build until now we just have a horse that lives anxious because he has been unable to express it. And if he doesn't express it and show me, we can't work through it in an appropriate way. I forgot what the question was again. I just keep talking. All right, any more questions? No. Okay, I'm gonna finish this session out. How much time do we have? 14 minutes. I might not use all of it. Um, but I am. I'm gonna get those feet moving. What was that? That was about the worst time for something to fall off the wall. There we go. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said to build that relationship, you do have to put yourself in somewhat vulnerable spaces and kind of relinquish some of maybe your personal safety to them, just as much as, I wouldn't say just as much as, but to an appropriate level, compared to what the horses are entrusting us with. And there's no reason these animals should ever let us do what we do to them. I truly think that they're a gift from God, and that it is an absolute miracle that they have the trainability and the malleability and the adaptability that they do have. I can't make it make sense. A lot of my training and a lot of my philosophy is based in science and rooted in chemistry and endocrinology. But when it comes to the how and why of, do we even have horses and how do they get to be this forgiving, my thoughts just turn to God and how they must be, one of the greatest gifts he's blessed me with, for sure, but blessed all of us with. So I think that's where I'm going to end today's session. Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. Cool.